if we slow down, it's like that we have a glass of water with sand, and if we wait for a while, then all these small pieces of sand will be on the bottom, and we can see the water clearly, and we will also see the sand,
Do you wonder how trailblazing leaders sense at scale, evolve to innovate, and align the actions in this increasingly digital world? Welcome to the Exploring Leaders podcast. The experienced team at Digoshen interviews leaders from around the world for insights and inspiration on how to lead in the digital age. In this episode, Digoshen founder Lizalette Engstam, who is also an independent board chair and director, researcher, author, and advisor, asks the questions.
And warm welcome to Digoshen Exploring Leaders and to a new series that we're going to run here, which is focusing about the old playbook that doesn't work anymore. And this first episode, we're going to talk about our need for certainty. And I'm super delighted to have my dear friend and colleague, Lidija Drobež, here with us to actually discuss these topics. And she has a long experience from executive leadership, but also from coaching leaders in this type of environment. And we're both also fellows at Institute of Coaching at Harvard Medical School. And we are both also co-organizing Navigating Uncertainty. So it fits very well. Warm welcome, Lidija.
Hello, thank you for organizing this call, and I'm looking forward very much to this discussion.
Right, me too. And I thought we'd start in a different end. So I'm going to show you a picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to hear your reflections. This is a man. He's standing on, so he knows probably where he's going, but he doesn't have a road there. So what do you reflect on when you see this painting? And the painting, I should say, is by David Casper, and I'm going to come back to that in a short while. But what do you see?
Oh, first of all, it's a great painting, and it really attracted me. Also, the posture, how he is just pulling me, So for me, the most important thing at the moment is how his posture. And yeah, I can imagine many people would say now it's black, and so for me, it's very joyful. And I can imagine easily to be in his shoes right now. So when you said that he doesn't know where to go, that's a surprise for me. It's not an issue. If I may add,
well, thank you.
I would like to add just something. It reminds me really when I was early 20s, 30s. So that was that in 80s and 90s, when there was no internet, no mobile phones. And I enjoyed traveling very much, also on other continents. And I was a young woman. And I said, it's great to look over the hill, to go to an unknown country. Then that's opportunity to learn something new. It was joyful. However, it was so joyful because I had a stick. So as he has it here, that stick is very important. And my stick was at that time to have enough money in case of emergency to pay for the expensive room in the hotel, for example. So that stick is important in the painting. I wanted to add that.
Right. Right. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I thought we'd go over, and we have a couple of topics I wanted to discuss. The first is, why do we have such a need for certainty? Where does it come from? What's your experience? And do you see the same need with different people and different leaders? Or is the need different?
I mean, we all have that need for certainty. That's a human need. It's a very natural one as well. It's part of our development as a human. It's about our existence through our human evolution. So It's perhaps different how we understand it, how much we are aware of that need for certainty, and how do we evaluate the need in our internal world. But in general, if I stay for a moment in that general level, it helps a lot, the certainty, because it's no stress. We are much more efficient. We can, I don't know, life is easier. It's more comfortable in business and at home as well, if there are certain certainty.
And I think that one of the things that I reflect on this certainty, and we're going to come back to that, is that we maybe sometimes invent certainty that we actually don't have. So these plans and forecasts often gives us one type of certainty. Most leaders don't say, I don't know. Why do you think that is?
That's very, very good question. Yes, you came just to the point. Yeah, let me start then answering. It's difficult to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Difficult to say. But whatever I say also now in this conversation depends on the context. How I am and what's the context, because of course all theorists in last decade and experience and a good company or good organizational practice would say, of course you cannot know the answers. It's also not meant to have all answers. It's impossible, and you need to involve team and be open to different possibilities. However, working with people, we know that that's not to real life. And deep inside, a human being is, to trust more to somebody who has the answers, who is able to solve problems. So on one hand side, there are these expectations from individuals, also expectations from the organization, also the formal motto might be different. But it's also what's going on inside us, because sometimes it's us who developed that need, that we need to have all answers, because only having all answers, I'm a good leader. Only if I know everything, they will trust me. So how to say in such a context, I don't know.
No. And we're going to come back to it in the end, but we know a couple of things that helps when things are uncertain, and one of them is to slow down a bit. And what happens when you slow down in your mind?
Yeah, I would ask, what must happen that we slow down? Because if there's a lack of certainty, we would go fast,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yes, if we slow down, it's like that we have a glass of water with sand, and if we wait for a while, then all these small pieces of sand will be on the bottom, and we can see the water clearly, and we will also see the sand. It's a question of patience and trust that slowing down will help. And then our lenses become very different. We are then able to look outwards and also inwards, and we get much better picture of the situation.
Right.
And also it's a calming effect as well. It's not just about the picture. It's also how we feel, what's our experience in that moment. Because when we are slowing down, it breaks our nervous system at that moment, that it's calming. The level of stress is lower, and that helps us actually, that our eyes are fresh. And we can look better.
And I love that. It's basically if you calm down, you're inviting basically more perspectives to join you before you take a decision. So hasty decisions must be taken sometime, but of course we all know that the hasty decision has much more risk in it, actually more risk than uncertainty.
I would just add something, if we are talking about speed, slowing down, it doesn't mean that we need a lot of time. If we practice that, it can be in the moment.
And that's a very good reflection as well. And can Can you share a moment when you were kind of stepping back and had a bit of a reflection on something that might help others understand what this might mean, especially the one that don't take too much time?
We are talking about business. However, I will use an example when it's from my family life, because I believe we all have this kind of experience, that suddenly when we are in the role of mothers or fathers, that old patterns are there without understanding or being aware of that, how we talk with children, for example, and especially in the stress. So it helps a lot. Just come, slow down, look what's going on. It works. And it's a good practice. That's a way how we can really develop our skill.
And you were talking before about that you like to follow somebody that knows where we're going, but you also like to follow somebody that isn't too stressed. Isn't that right? I mean, a too stressed leader, you almost don't need to say anything. You feel when the other person is very stressed. Is that? Do you see the same things?
Yes, of course. We notice that with the whole body experience.
Yeah.
And that impacts both the leader and us as well.
Right. And the urge we have to immediately come to something, I can just say something that I learned at a very early stage, and that was when I got a really nasty email, which has happened to all of us, I think. I learned a trait to never, ever answer the same day. Mm-hmm. And I think that is part of the same things. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes, because if we feel to be attacked and we are emotionally very aroused, we need to first take care of ourselves. Because if we answer from that point, or from that intensity of that emotion, we will answer in the way that we will not be satisfied with next day. So better to wait for the next day.
Yeah. Definitely. So we talked about now that we have a need for certainty. It will help if we slow down. And then if we go into this need that we have, what can replace certainty? What things can we do to actually understand ourselves and our actions better so that we have a better handling of the uncertainty? What can we replace it with?
I would go a little bit back again. Uncertainty today is a fuzzy word. So as it was, change is the only constant, and now is uncertainty about everything. So I think uncertainty or certainty, it's a very complex term, and it's important that we take some time and explore it. In general, what certainty, for example, means for me, it can be very different what it means to you or to somebody else. It's very personal experience. How we translate certainty or uncertainty, how also the level of certainty that somebody needs to really operate well. So yes, and then coming directly to your question, it's about awareness. First of all, awareness about our assumptions, awareness what it is about, what brings our certainty on that very individual level. Because to some people it could be perhaps a regular payment check, having the list of contracts already signed. For another one would be something very different, There are different columns of that certainty that I could translate it also to security or safety that we inside us. That it's important that we are aware of, because that's the base from which we can then work in uncertainty. But there's just one part. It's just about knowing ourselves, awareness. Knowing our assumptions, our beliefs, how I need to be. I need to have all the answers, for example, as before, to be aware of these beliefs and how they are limiting us in certain situations. But
right. You said something earlier on that I really use a lot in my exploration of, especially with businesses, and that is assumptions. I really like that board. I think assumptions for me is very close to hypotheses. It's that we think something are like something, and if you dig a bit in your assumptions or your hypotheses, in itself that creates some kind of certainty, because then you kind of think that you have looked at things that might help you in your next steps into the uncertainty. What do you think?
What you're mentioning is to feel more prepared.
Yeah.
That increase our confidence. But look, it's also you were in companies, we explore the customers, the market, we want to know so that we can predict, that we can plan.
Yeah.
But in the same way, we need to know about ourselves, how
Yeah.
we are, how we react.
Yeah.
That's inner knowing inside us, inner fear.
Right. And I think we started with this thing with forecasts and plans. And I think that in the business life today, a lot of people feel comfortable with numbers. But numbers is nothing more than hypothesis about something. So it goes back to actually having an understanding what the numbers and making sure that, again, you dig a bit around it so you don't get stuck both with your own assumptions around things. And I think one of the things, for instance, that go wrong is that the environment changes. We sit with measurements that isn't really following the changed. And then we get into this enormous, complex discussions where we talk about different things and our certainty becomes even bigger. I don't know if you recognize this or if this makes sense to you, and how do you work with those topics?
I think this is very important, especially for teams, to be aware, because in a way, unconsciously, they support each other, in creating this false certainty.
Yeah.
Also, where do they focus on? You mentioned numbers as something fixed. You really, in the past, we could trust the numbers, but what are the numbers? Yeah.
And now the numbers are, they're still super important. I don't say that, but I think our need for certainty needs to be fed with a bit broader, from a bit broader basket for ourselves to take care of that. And if we look at us as persons, and I think one of the things that, so I work a lot on boards, and boards are always information deprived. So I think that one of the most important things is to know when to move on. Don't keep digging in things, just try to get to move on. What is your experience of this? What is enough? When do you get a feeling that it's time to move on?
That's an easy topic as long as we just name it, but very complex when we look at it a little bit deeper. Because when it's enough, on one hand side, there are many lines of exploration, many hypotheses when it's enough. Of course, it's enough when the business stops, because when paralyze us, that's enough anyway, on individual level or a team level as well. And how many answers do we need? And I would here add something else. It's not how many, but what kind of answers, what we are looking at, because in that unknown period, area, whatever, we need to focus on something. We need something, a little bit of certainty. Everybody needs,
Yes.
So what we define as is important.
And for an individual, I think the other thing that you can do is also to reflect on what's the worst thing that can happen, so you don't paralyze yourself. Have you experienced that, and how do you handle that?
Yeah, that's what you are suggesting now. It's already connected to curiosity, to a positive approach to solving the situation. It's not being paralyzed. It's not fixed mindset, so to say. Because if there are no answers, we can be very creative.
Yes.
In which way to go, you know.
Yeah.
In a way, it's probably not appropriate. I would even say playful, because sometimes that takes away a little bit of that heaviness we have on our back.
Yeah. And I think that many times people have more availability to things than they actually know.
Mm-hmm.
They have more opportunities to act than what they know. And of course, taking some moment to slow down and finding a couple of alternative ways to look at things is probably also a very helpful orientation.
And also being aware of the strengths we have with us all the time, you know, that personal resilience in a way.
Yeah.
The leaders we work with, they have strong purpose in their life. They know
do.
what they
Yeah.
want, why they are there, you know, and
Yeah.
that's a very strong strength, you know, and they can count on that strength if they are aware.
Yeah.
That gives extra energy. Or personal, strong, healthy personal relationships. Or again, here is we are very different, but it's important to know what we have, and in difficult moments also to remember.
Yeah.
No, I'm doing that.
And I think,
yeah, to remember, and perhaps when we are making choices, not to go against us, not to decide for choices that would be against these strong anchors inside that.
yeah, I think it's so true. And I think that most times when we as leaders are challenged, it's usually when many things are coming at us at the same time. We have some personal losses, we have some business challenges. What do you see finding some good ways to handle that situation and that making some reflection around that?
You know, I respond now, so to say, automatically, you know, when you are asking me. So if I took some time to reflect and to think on my practice, I would give perhaps different examples. But generally, such uncertainty and what you were describing, there are sources like art or nature, you know, where we can always refill, and it will help us find answers.
Yes, yeah. And I think the good thing with art, as we both have used it and as we discuss and also use it somewhat in our practices, and that is that art makes us reflect on something that hasn't really gotten up on the top of our minds yet. Yeah. But it is core to our beliefs and core to our fears.
Is there, but it's like that we cannot touch it, you know, through the art. I'm not talking just about creating art, it's just looking at art.
Yes.
Being in the same room with piece of art, you know, it already helps us, you know, to forget a little bit that analytical mind for a moment, and then just it appears.
Right. Wonderful. So we are getting close towards the end. I just thought I'd ask you a question, then we give a question for the listeners. But if you were to think about what have you learned to trust when certainty is not available?
So if you ask me that when I was 30, my answer would be different. At 30, different. At 60 plus something now, I can say that that's a little bit experience also and experimenting, you know. But what I learned is that actually whatever situation comes, I cannot control it. It will come, but I have a control in creating small moments for myself, you know, to slow down, to stop, so to say, completely, you know. And then not so much to explore what to do next, but in the first step, to feel some compassion also, you know. And, you know, when there is hope, that's such an energy, you know, and that really helps us, you know, to make a step forward. So the short answer would be an experience of trust deep inside myself.
And of course, it does help that you have been part of challenges before.
Of course.
Because then you have more of these challenges to pick from and know what worked, what didn't work. Yeah. But we can also explore that actually by talking to others, right? And get a bit of a mirror and reflection back.
Yes, it's very important what you just said. It's we cannot do that by reading or by talking about. We need to do that, and experience help a lot. Challenges, and also how we went through the challenges, were these learning experiences, what we take out. So yes, that helps.
Thank you so much. And we were going to send a question for our listeners to reflect on until we meet next time. And that question is, what might become possible if you didn't need to know exactly what comes next? What becomes possible then? And will it potentially help to get into action a bit quicker when you have sorted yourself out a bit and know how to calm down, what is your anchors, etc. So I want to thank you so much, Lidija, for sharing these insights and discussing this. And you will come back also later in the podcast series. And I'm so much looking forward to that, and also looking forward to meet you in lovely Ljubljana in October. So thank you so much, and I'll see you soon again.
Thank you so much for organizing again. And yes, we are talking about this interesting topic to talk, but I'm looking forward very much to be together and explore that, because that's then the real journey with value added. Thank you.
Thank you.
Podcast produced by Digoshen, with the ambition to inspire insightful leadership in the digital age. If you found this episode interesting, join the momentum to amplify the voices of trailblazing leaders by sharing it with others for inspiration. For any questions or recommendations on other inspiring leaders you like to listen to, contact us via our website, digoshen.com, or via social media as LinkedIn or Twitter.